Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about giving up on people. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, when would you give up on an employee even though they are trying very hard to make an impact? It would be either if they don't meet the expectations, so they can't really deal with the work environment, or if we're dealing with a lone wolf or something like that, I would say. Let me explain. So before you start shitting yourself if you're a junior software developer, when I say meet expectations, it's very important for you to understand that that doesn't mean that you're a junior and you should be better than whatever I expect you to be. Because usually, at least when I work with juniors, I know that they are junior software developers, and I make that very clear to the managers and like all the people I work with, that this is a person who will not be very productive. That's not, they're starting out. It's like new to them, all this sort of stuff. So if you want to invest in this individual, then go and look for a software, look for a junior who has the passion and the interest and wants to learn and really sponging up like somebody else's knowledge or like wisdom and so forth, and then make sure that there's enough capacity in the time, in terms of time, so that they can get the necessary mentoring that they need to become productive. That's what we go for. So it's actually very rare that you would get rid. I can't even remember ever recommending someone say, "Oh, this person," because it really, as I said, like when you hire a junior, you're sort of aware of this. Hopefully, at the very least, at least when I work with the companies I've worked with, they know that a junior is not just going to start producing stuff. But when we talk about not meeting expectations, it's usually the case of you are a more experienced software developer, and maybe the requirements of this specific role is something that isn't really for you, or like you can't really deal with it. Classic example is a lot of software developers who might have a I'm not saying a corporate background, but there are software developers who do really well, say, in the startup scene or in teams where you as the software developer, you have to take on a lot of responsibilities apart from just writing what's in the story card. Because if you look at the story card, it's just one sentence that someone just dropped in in the last few hours, and now they want to get on that because your stakeholder doesn't really do grooming sessions, or they don't really prep stuff, and you don't have a designer, so you have to design it yourself, or you don't have this or that, and you sort of have to just figure out, like, there's no documentation, you have to figure that out as well. Some work environments, guys, are fairly ad hoc, and some software developers can't deal with that. They have to work in an environment where a lot of this stuff is already fixed for them. And I've worked with quite a lot of software developers who they don't really survive in that environment. They can't. It doesn't have to be a startup sim, but I think that for those of you who have worked in startups where like you're literally just being thrown a question, hey, CEO comes in and says, can we build this? Okay, cool. And you go, yeah, we could probably build that. Okay, when can it be done? And that's like the whole preparation, and now you have to figure out how to do it. There are some people who handle that, and some people don't handle that all that very well. Same thing for, say, software developers who are more like freestyly or so forth and so forth, and you deal with a system that is fairly complicated, and you need them to sort of understand that here testing is the priority, quality, and making sure that we ship things that work 100% of the time, because these are business critical or very like operations critical systems that has to have a high level of quality. If that person can't learn how to write proper testing and like so forth and so forth, you also have to get rid of them, because basically they are, even if they try and like they are contributing and so forth, it's not actually giving you like I mean, if you're trying to buy butter and somebody is busy producing sugar, that's great, but you're not looking for sugar, you're looking for butter. A bad analogy, but I hope that you see what I'm going with this. The other one is if you're dealing with someone who is a lone wolf, or very, and this happens a lot. So one of the things that at least I go very heavy on is that if the system that I'm dealing with, I try to look at what we're trying to build, and if the thing we're trying to build requires a certain set of people, in order to be able to effectively do something, then it's very important that all those people are a good fit for the product that we're dealing with. Because I usually don't believe much in hiring people based on merit for a given task. It's important to understand what type of problem you're dealing with, and if this person that you're hiring is the sort of person who will do well with this sort of problem. So when I work with software teams, I usually try to get a feel for each individual in the team and sort of understand how does the dynamics between the people work. And I've gone to a few teams in my day now where you've had this issue where everybody sort of works by themselves. There's no conversation going on between anybody ever, unless there's a bug or someone needs a code review, and the code review is like basically just auto-approved because they don't really talk to each other. They just sort of sit in their own little bubbles and they sort of do their own thing. That is a situation where usually, like my managers and so forth, usually see something that I've seen 100 times before. That sort of behavior leads very quickly to shitty systems. Because it's not you're not trying to share a vision. You're not trying to do like a line on a direction. You're basically just doing things in isolation and sort of knowing what you're supposed to build, but you're not working as a team. And when I see such a situation, the first thing I usually do is to do what I call the code inventory, or like the inventory, where I go through all the code, I go through all the systems, and I go and talk to all the people and sort of figure out who is everybody and sort of how do they work, and sort of observe, like try to learn as much as possible about the environment. And then I start trying here and there to pull on things and see if I can get people to be more engaged, or maybe I ask a question even though I might know the answer and see, will this person respond to me? Will this person interact? Will this person try to help out? Is this a person that is open to work in a more collaborative manner? And if I find that there's someone who is usually very tries to just avoid any type of interaction, doesn't really you don't really get any type of dialogue going with them, that is a person that has to go if the team is going to be healthy. Because the sensation of unity is very important if you want to have an efficient running software team where you can deal with this is not true for every project, guys, but for the projects that requires a collaborative team, which are quite a few, it's very the norm for long running projects where you really have to sort of all align on a vision. This is a must-have, and you can't have one or two people who sort of just sit and go, yeah, no, we're never engaged with, because it brings the whole thing down. You can't, one person can't be the entire team and be the super positive person who just drives everything all the time. You need to have people to at least be open to collaboration, and that's very difficult to achieve if you have these people who sort of want to isolate or wants to they don't have to be hostile, but some of them are hostile. And that's someone you have to let go fairly quickly of, because they will, one bad apple spoils the bunch type of deal. That's what I'm talking about. So what I want you to take away from this is that the times that I usually quote-unquote give up on an employee is if either I'm dealing with someone who can't survive in the environment that they're in, and that's usually happens when you have someone who really doesn't have, they cannot adjust to the work environment, and we can't change it to make it easier on them and so forth. They never get the work done, and when it gets done, it's because basically the entire team has to bridge all the things for them. It takes them forever to do anything, or they can't take responsibility for things that they need to be able to take responsibility for. They basically don't have what it takes to meet the expectations, and that usually takes it takes them a few months to sort of figure out if they're going to be able to survive or not in the environment. You try it out, you can see that, as I said, a lot of that happens in the startup world, where in a startup world, you have to have people who can sort of just be thrown a task and sort of just figure out how to do it. And some people just can't. That's a concrete example of it. The other type is lone wolfers. I usually don't some people are like, I've seen this as well. Like, not everybody who just sits by themselves and it's quiet is a lone wolf. As I said, you do a little bit of probing. You try to figure out, all right, this team, they don't really talk to each other. They don't actually collaborate or anything like that. And like, nobody really even prepares any stories. So everybody's sort of just doing whatever the fuck they want. That is a behavior that is not good. We should try to see and fix that. But the thing that makes you a lone wolf is that when someone tries to interact with you, are you dismissive of that person? Do you try to just avoid people, or like, do you actually invite in collaboration, or do you like care enough to actually do a good job, etc., etc.? If you can't get people to engage, and you see that that hurts the team or hurts the shared vision, you can't get them to move in the same direction as all the other team members, then yeah, you have to go, because you can't build a team where people won't actually engage with the rest of the group. Have a great day.